Father Jason talked about the distinctions between the two ministries. And he said one of the distinctions is that the priest is called to preach, not the deacon. It's the deacon's duty to go out into the world and bring the concerns and needs of the world back to the congregation, then gather up the congregation and send you out to the world so we can deal with those problems. And as you might imagine, there's a lot of problems for us to deal with. Which brings us to Juneteenth. This week, I was reading online, where you probably shouldn't do this, but there was a company that was talking about the fact that they let their employees off for Juneteenth, and they welcomed everybody back the next day to deal with that business. Well, someone said, why do we need a Juneteenth? Why do we need a Freedom Day? There's already a Freedom Day. July the 4th, 1776 is Independence Day. So let's take a look at that. July 4th, 1776, black people weren't free. White women weren't free. They didn't get the right to vote till 1920. They couldn't own property. So really, July 4th, 1776 was just a great day for white men. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's go to 1787. Some of you have probably heard, you history buffs, of the 3/5 Compromise. Now in 1776, black people were nothing. So in 1787, the South, in an effort to boost their political power, said, let the black people be 3/5 of a person. How do you even do that? How would you, I can't even fathom how you would even think of that. But that's the way it was. And so in 1787, we were 3/5 of a person. Fast forward to 1863, January 1st, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves. But because of the lack of cell phones, internet, and really the will of some people, it took 2.5 years for that information to reach Galveston, Texas. And General Granger issued the order freeing those remaining 250,000 slaves. So then everything was great, right? Well, the slaves were free with nothing. They were freed with nothing. There was a big scatter. Some of the masters offered the slaves the opportunity to stay on the plantations. Most didn't. And so there was still a great deal of mistreatment. 100 years of what they call Jim Crow, where you had to deal with white bathrooms, colored bathrooms, white water fountains, So 100 years of that, and then you get into the 1960s, where we're still trying to fight for our civil rights. Just the right to be equal. Not give me more, just the right to be equal. So you fight for that. And still then, even after civil rights legislation is passed, there's still mistreatment. So then you fast forward to now. Where are we? Are we free? Are we truly free? Emma Lazarus, the great poet and activist, whose words are on the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your humbled, your yearning masses, yearning to be free. She also said, none of us are free until all of us are free. Opal Lee, who's now 97, who walked from Texas to Washington, D.C. to fight for Juneteenth to be a federal holiday, expanded on that a little bit. She said, none of us are free until all of us are free, and we are not yet free. So what does that have to do with us? We need to take the words of Jesus. Now, in today's gospel, Jesus had been preaching all day long. And Father Jason will tell you, after you've been preaching all day long, there's nothing like a nice Sunday nap. He's not going to get one today until much later, but it's not like a Sunday nap. And that's what Jesus was trying to do. He'd been preaching all day long, so he goes into the cushion on the stern of the boat to take a nap. And lo and behold, as happened earlier this morning, a storm arose. And these disciples, 4 of them were fishermen, so they probably were used to a storm or two. But they panicked They woke him up. Do you not care about us? Are you going to let us perish? Now, they had seen Jesus perform all types of miracles, and yet they had lost their faith. Now, someone told me once that you either have gone through a storm, or a storm is coming your way, or you're in the midst of a storm. It's one of those things. And so the message for us is that no matter what stage you are in your life, Jesus is with you through the storm. He's not there to prevent the storm, but he is there with you through the storm. And the reason why he calmed that storm for his disciples, they were his brothers, and he loved them. And that's what it's all about, is love. And that's what Juneteenth is about. If this country loved us the way we loved it, they would want our freedom, because we are all made in the image of God. And so when we look at each other, we need to see God. I had the fortune of seeing for, 8th or 9th time on Friday the Lion King. And one of the lines that really got to me during the show is, he lives in you, he lives in me. And that's what God is to us. That's what God wants for us. He wants to love us, but he wants us to love each other. And that's the spirit of Juneteenth. So as you go about today, look at each other and say, that's my brother, that's my sister, I love them. They were made of God just like me. And they were called to have the same rights that I do. But it all begins with us, one step at a time. Faith over fear, freedom for all.